All right, everybody, welcome back to the number one television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Now, today I am going to be giving you probably the most obvious, yet most important writing advice you young writers will ever get in your life. And this is a lesson that I learned when I was just a little kid living in Fairbanks, Alaska, watching my favorite television show, The Waltons. If you remember that. Well, in one of the episodes of The Waltons, in many of the episodes of The Waltons, one of the storylines, one of the plot lines was John Boy Walton was a journalist and he wanted to be a novelist, and so he was working on his great American novel. And The Waltons was a TV series in the 70s, but it was set back in the 1920s during the Depression era in the wilderness. And John Boy Walton was writing out his manuscript, and he had thousands of pages of handwritten notes, of typed notes. The whole novel was pretty much done. It was in his house on his desk, and then one night the house caught fire. Now, the whole place just whoosh up in flames. All the kids, all the Walton kids, they did their due diligence. They did the whole stop, drop, and roll. They got their asses out of the house. Everybody was safe. Nobody died. But the final scene of the episode was John Boy Walton with tears in his eyes because he knew that his manuscript, his handwritten, years and years and years of work of writing this novel was up still in his bedroom, burning, and he lost it. It was gone. Even as a small kid watching that, I felt the tragedy. Now, let's jump ahead to when I was a young adult in college and I was reading a Robin Hobb book, of all things. And in the Robin Hobb book, and I'm going to read this. This is another poignant writing advice moment for me. Keep in mind, as a kid watching the Waltons, I was not a writer then. I was a little kid. As a college student reading Robin Hobb, I still was not a writer. But something very important would happen to me again. And this is in the acknowledgement page of Robin Hobb's Ship of Magic, which came out in 1998. And I will read it to you. It says, acknowledgments. She wants to acknowledge in this book, the author would like to thank Gail of Software Alternatives for rendering swift and compassionate aid in stamping out the computer virus that ate this book. Once again, I was like, oh my gosh. I had a flashback to that scene from the Waltons where John Boy Walton had lost his manuscript in the fire. And Robin Hobb, this is a 1,000-page novel that she nearly lost to a computer virus. And now this is where my writing advice comes in, because even in 1998, I was scared of computers. I was scared of them. I did not ever want to use one. I did not like them. I still don't like them. I hate almost everything about computers. The fact that a computer almost ate this writer's manuscript scared me even more. And so when I decided that I was finally going to write my big epic books, I made a calculated decision, which is probably the best decision that I ever made as a writer. And here it is. Here is the writing advice you've been waiting for. This is it. It's the most obvious thing and the most important thing. The laptop computer that I write my manuscripts on has never, ever, 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 I mean it has never, ever been hooked up to the internet. It's just a laptop with Microsoft Word installed onto it, and I just use that laptop for writing. That way, there's never, ever going to be an instance where a virus can come in and eat my manuscript. But Durfee, you say. What if a fire rages through your house and melts your laptop? What the f are you going to do? John Boy Walton lost his to just because your precious manuscript is being written on a laptop that's never been hooked to the internet and no virus can touch it, doesn't mean that a fire can't melt your laptop. Very true. So, there's a simple way to overcome this too. And this is where I really solidify this writing advice. This is what I do. After every writing session, without fail, well, during the writing session, let's just talk about during the writing session. After almost every sentence that I write, even on Microsoft Word, there are glitches on, even if you've never hooked your laptop to the computer. No, to the internet. Even if you've never hooked your laptop to the internet, Microsoft Word itself has glitches in it and sometimes won't save what you've written. So what I do is, after every sentence I write, I click that save button, which saves it. That way, if there's a glitch, I can recover it pretty easily. I can recover everything pretty easily. What I do, though, is after every writing session, I have a series of about 10, and you can call them zip drives, thumb drives, flash drives. I don't know what you call them. But I've got a series of about 10 of these zip drives that after every writing session every day, I download the updated manuscript onto all 10 of these zip drives. And that's why I get 10 backups. Now, you can be like, well, still, Durfee, if a fire breaks out in your house, it's going to melt all 10 backups. Well, that's not the case. Because I hide these zip drives everywhere. Everywhere. And so let's say, some of the zip drives are hidden as little bobblehead guys. You know, you take his little bobblehead off. Zip drive. You know. So you can just have that. You know, you can just throw that in the back seat of your car or your trunk or whatever. I've got zip drives hooked to my keychains. So these keys go with me everywhere. So I've got a zip drive there. Several of my body cavities might, at this very moment, have zip drives stored in them. But here's the thing, is the Waltons, the 1970s television show The Waltons, opened my eyes to the fact that you could work your whole life for something and it can all go up in flames. Reading this Robin Hobb book in 1998, and reading that acknowledgement page, it scared the bejesus out of me. And I was like, if I do my writing and it's on a computer, I do not want it to go into computer hell. I do not want my manuscript to disappear into computer oblivion. And so therefore, I will not ever rely on computers to, and so then I'm like, well, but I have to kind of. And so how do I work around that? Well, some people say, well, use the cloud, Durfee, use the cloud. The cloud is the best. Well, no, I don't want to use the cloud. The cloud is... somebody else has created the cloud could just, the cloud could be hacked. I'm just saying. The cloud could disappear. If electricity disappears, the cloud disappears. If electricity disappears, these things still exist. Now, we might need to get some electricity but you know what I'm saying. Just save your stuff in multiple places. Avoid the trouble. To this very day, I have got friends of mine that are writers that still to this day are panicked because their computer has ate their manuscript. And I'm like, you fool. It's 2023. We've got so many different ways of backing up our work that there's no way that you've done this to yourself. You wrote your manuscript on a computer that was hooked to the internet, and then now you're surprised that it's fucking gone? That fucking something happened to it? That it's in a virus hell? Nah, it's your own fault. Do what I do. Do it the way I do it.